Good evening, Dr. Sang.
Yes. Tene Tambo, Father, let me say a little bit in Tibetan first.
Yeah, please.
Tan number two the Tanda Tato and Sensi Nanke in Are, any Tana Shinki, the Zoom Tatsina is Sensi Nanke Toma, some detached the situation. Any being on the Kodishi, the Tanda Churun Tundegi, Tamshiki, Lady Chadiore. Di kare inshuwa ina tanda number two chance re ta tirini zonde nganzu saga dawe ga tseba ji tujine unzu nange yore ta saga dawe tujine de nganzu ta pyogi ga tujine nalo ni keche shwe da dawa nalo ni keche shwe ji chagi yore jeza nganzu ta saga dawe ga tujine songzi che de ko gongsa chugi ga ka gongshi duta gi tol pa songzi che tonara ji ten song tindi chedir khonsa chuire ta gongshi thumo mai ba tuje damja zo ji shi yore ta shi dinalo tambo de ko khonsa chuge tujun de nang de da yongra chuchim boji cha de yore ta nipa de ngan zo ya di thol ngan zo tuje de ne ke chimbo ra ji 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 di thol ya godo ra ji betuna ra chen song ani jushi tuje damja nipa de di cha de yore namu chen sere tanda churu tunde ya je ta ya di cha de yore tanda churu tunde ya je ta ya di cha de ta ngan zo di dawa de 아니 주로 튼데데 아니 간디스 야제 땅도레스 페나 아니 이시 쳐바지 응에나 주로 튼데스야 돼 간디스 야제 땅도레스 카시 쳐바지나 디 쿠란조이 삼주이 토네 쿠란조이 주로 나를 숨 빌랍자 디 토네라 아니 잠니 주로 튼데스야 돼 간디지 야제 땅도레스 잠니 주로 튼데 야제 땅을 때네 아니 먼저 타이 가르선 잠니 시데스야지 간디지 튼투레스야지 드리지 토네를 당한서 단다 사가다와데 송지 지야 차데 아니 조데 공사주 공시도야 아니 사가다와 디나르다 아니 게위쇼를 빼야지다 조데데 치룬트레기 고도야지 빼야지 드리지 만서 미지 장데스 샤이 당한서 로나덴도스기 데링 사가다 츠바지 인자 데링기 유시 치루기 토네라 치룬트네 간디지 용투예메 걸 담시나야레 드네 니망가이 제라 아니 츠방가니 모델 드네마 단다 베진 같이 임바요 드리제네 니망 아니 세바주 쭝아 니슈 짱아 숨주세네 드리제네 잠니 치루 침보드니 치루 체가 아니 드윈세기 아니 르베제네 담시에 드리지 난그레스 드리슈야이 다 담시에 난들어 아니 쿠란스기 치루기 모데 제지 용거래라 조데 쿠란스기 치루기 따당기 토네는 니 치루 드레스야데 가세스 개침보 차기에메 걸 담시에 나야 드리지레 제사 아니 넘버 2 인지 챙겐 옛날에 아니 인지 챙겐이나 대가 냠슈제 디버티네다 아니 공수송에 드리 고가 요래 아니 인지 만천 바이나야 아니 대가 먼저 어두세네 자토네 넘버 2 가르서르티 먼저 줌 타시나 냠슈제와나 디나를 벽에날 대가 주야 드리지 요르스슈아이 벽에날 넘버 2 카바 이어 베지지가나 카바 디나를 수델 단다 체 숨드라지 요래 닷 나들이 체 숨제 디 수디나 주아이나 아니 interpretation 라야 디나를 주아이나 벽에서 데 티베탄 라야 요 디나를 넘버 2 냠슈제네 아니 벽에들 태동 센즈나로 제스슈아이 아니 야 넘버 2 디와 요아이나 젤 아니 태가 벽에날 슈아이나 양안수 되는 바주 줘야 되는 용거레스 드리슈아이 드네 단다 파더 마티우라 제나 아니 니마 공사주의 조보레 먼저 배발 미세 샤진 예제단데 아니 배다 이슈기 최변 차되어래 아니 로비용 돈에 드리는 브람 바들이 드리지는 단대 잘벽에 마하라슈트라기 줄라노냐 칸기 벽에 아니 로템 바다 아니 브람 바 드리기 샬레나데 바 드리지레스 슈야타 드리지 로 so first of all yes Father Matthew yes Professor Father Matthew Chandrakuna so it's my great pleasure to see you in person virtually. It has been almost more than I think 3 years ago we have not seen in person. However, it's my great pleasure to see you in here virtually. I would like to extend my heartfelt greetings to the Father Matthew Chandrakunal, CMMI, and the Gishila Sonawanden, and our moderator and all the viewers in the Zoom and those who watch online on live on Facebook. So I would like to express why the three reasons why we host such kind of the series of the seminars on religious harmony for world peace. The first reason is to fulfill the vision of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, very far-sighted vision of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So then, His Holiness, as you all know, that there are the four commitments His Holiness the Dalai Lama has. The second one is the promotion of the religious harmony. So then we all know that promotion of religious harmony is very important for the preservation and promotion of the world peace. So this is the one reason, and the second reason is we try to observe the Sakadawa, the way one of the holiest the month of the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. So and third reason is to promote the sense of the religious harmony through the sense of the brotherhood and sisterhood. So because we are all, most of us all are the religious person. So then as a religious person, it's very important to have a very open mind and have a way, I mean that always we should be ready to share the other's suffering, and we should have a very the open mind. So without having the open mind, so then open mind and without having a friendly attitude, so then we cannot have a peace within us without having the peace within our own heart. Because the first, as a religious person, the very important is to create a peace for within ourselves, and the peace to share that kind of the peace all around us, with all around us. So these are the three reasons why we host these seminars. And you all know that, so that today is the first day of the Sakadawa festival, and then next slide. So I would like to inform you all that today, 31st May, so then there is the, so from the Christian perspective, so Father Matthew will speak on how Christianity promotes the religious harmony for world peace. And on 4th June, and Islam will speak, and 9th June, Hinduism, 14th June, Buddhism, and 19th June, Jainism, and 23rd June, Sikhism, and 28th June, the Judaism. Judaism will speak how Judaism, how Judaism promotes religious harmony for world peace. So this is my brief introduction for today's seminar. So I would like to extend heartfelt thanks to you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Venerable Losam Doji, for introductory speech and importance of the purpose of this program. And now we finished the third program, and the fourth one is the promotion of religious harmony from Christian perspective by the Professor Matthew. So first, I would like to introduce Professor Matthew. So Professor Father Matthew Chandrakunar, he was a professor of philosophy of science and Dhammaram Vidya Shatram and Christ University. And also he is the author of several books, including the Philosophy of Quantum Mechanics and Ascent to Truth, Physics, Philosophy, and Religious of Galileo. So also he was a director of ECC, Economical Christian Center. And at the present time, he was the distinguished professor and advisor at Maharashtra Institute of Technology, MIT, and World Peace University. First, so I will invite Dr. Matthew to address. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Venerable Calden, Venerable, the director of the Seraje Translation Department, Venerable Lobsang Dorji, and Venerable Lama Jampa, who is translating, and the other translation department members, and also my other viewers, listeners, Tashi Delak, and I wish you all a great festival of Saka Dawa. I remember the great days I have spent with you all. And I think in 2012, I had the opportunity to interact with His Holiness Dalai Lama. I was given only 5 minutes to interact with His Holiness. And I went there, and then he touched his forehead of great experience and joy and happiness, and also the sufferings he has undergone. So that was a moment I felt in the fusion of consciousness, and His Holiness went on to talk to me for more than 45 minutes. And then after hitting on my chest, asked me to go and meet and teach the monks, his monks. And then I have interactions with the people there at Seraje Monastery. I came and stayed there. So I remember all those great moments, and I continued these interactions because of many of these, and especially today's friends, this Lama Kalden, Lama Lobsang, and Lama Jampa, Lama Sonam, and there are many and many others, and also Gashela, Nimatashi, and many others we were interacting. So these were a great moments of pleasure. And as I was teaching them physics and philosophy, they were also teaching me Buddhist meditation, which I found that so fascinating. So I am grateful to my friends who invited me, and for the wonderful introduction Lama Kalden and also Lobsang gave to me. And today I will try to give glimpses of, we have only a short time, maybe half an hour or even below that time. So I will speak from three different perspectives. That is the head of our Catholic Church, that is the Pope Francis, and how he was instrumental in bringing or promoting religious harmony, and in my own personal experience. And then what the Catholic Church, Christianity is so wide. There are so many different versions coming from the Catholic Church, which is almost 1.6 billion of the 7 billion in this humans in this universe. And there is the Orthodox Church, and there is also the Protestant churches. There is also the Pentecostal churches. So we have into very many divisions. But I am speaking from the general perspective as well as from the Catholic perspective. Today you can see that how Pope Saint John Paul II, he was the Pope for more than 25 years. He was the one who was maybe the previous one. So here you could see the Pope Saint John Paul II. So he initiated the Assisi conferences. The Assisi conferences is bringing religious leaders from all over the world. You can see that, His Holiness Dalai Lama is placed closely to him. Then the Orthodox Church head, and also the Anglican Church head. So you could see that, and also the different Buddhist, I think from Taiwan or the other places. So all the religious traditions were brought together, and we could see how this Pope was promoting this religious tolerance. And the same way, the present Pope Francis was also continuing the same tradition. He was also conducting the conferences, the Assisi conferences. And here also we can see that how both the present Prime Minister of India, who met Pope Francis in Rome, and yes, our Modi ji was so fascinated. And there are pictures of the, both of them hugging each other. And that was a moment of pleasure. And then we could also see that Pope Francis, he selected the countries where he wanted to go. That is not the majority of Catholics there, but where there are minorities. So here you see our neighbor, Myanmar. His Holiness Pope Francis is interacting with Her Excellency Aung Suu Kyi of the President of Myanmar, where the Buddhists are the largest population. And then there are many other countries Pope Francis visited. Maybe the next slide. Yes, here it is Abu Dhabi. You could see that Pope Francis was invited by the prince and the head of the Arab Emirates, and was given a very rousing welcome. And they have given a place for the Christian worship, and the Pope was interacting there, and then many of the Muslim leaders were all there. So we could see that Pope Francis was really was interacting with all these different religious traditions. Maybe the next one. Next slide, please. So here you could see that I think this Geshela is from India. So maybe from one of the Tibetans. I don't know his name, but I found this so fascinating. And then the way they were all interacting. So the Catholic Church is promoting interreligious harmony. So the Pope Francis and the previous popes, and you could also see that all the bishops, that is, Catholic Church is divided into different dioceses, and all the world over we have many such dioceses, and every diocese they have an interfaith dialogue commission and also an ecumenical. So that way every place is fostering and flourishing this religious harmony. Wherever there are problems, and also they celebrate all the feast together. You could also, the next, please. Yeah, here you can see that the president of Iran is there. From Africa, the leaders are there, and the Indian, and you could see that from all over the world they were all sitting together. This is Pope Benedict. So I was just saying that this continuity of the Catholic Church or Christianity in promoting religious pluralism, religious harmony, and interfaith dialogue and peace. Maybe the next one. So here I would like to speak about. So I am just saying from the perspective of the heads of the Catholic Church and the other religious traditions of the Christian denominations. They were all promoting. So I just wanted to share with you my own personal experiences. So as I told you, so His Holiness Dalai Lama visited Christ University in 2013 and spent almost 5 hours. So His Holiness was there to give a lecture on science and religion. And then later, His Holiness visited our chapel. And in the chapel, His Holiness was giving the reasons why we should meditate. So the meditations, Many a time His Holiness will be going to Christian monasteries, and one of such moments, that was in France. His Holiness was visiting a Benedictine monastery, and the abbot there, and then His Holiness, what they said together, we will meditate. So both these great leaders, they have meditated together. So we had the occasions here. The second picture photo, we were together for quantum mechanics and Madhyamaka Buddhism, an international conference organized at Jain, I think in 2018, or I don't exactly remember. So there, I had the opportunity to spend more than 3 days with His Holiness, interacting together, and we were having food together. And His Holiness was saying that the Chinese, though if I am thinking about them as aggressors, then His Holiness was telling that is wrong. So the way somebody who has taken away everything, but His Holiness was thinking that to consider the other in a negative way, that is definitely in the wrong way. So he was telling, and I also saw how His Holiness was a great role model, simplicity and the laughter. And there are also other times I was there in Ashoka Hotel in Delhi, and then His Holiness was joking about we the Buddhist monks will be looking for money, and then but he was simply speaking about maybe in a much more humorous way that but the Christian monks, they were meditating. So that way he was, so I was listening to him, and then the way he was humorously speaking the necessity of meditation. And I think how all these Tibetan people were held together in peace and harmony. It is because of his generosity, magnanimity, and the love and the compassion he is generating. So I also saw that in Christ University, when His Holiness was there, more than 2,500 students were in the auditorium, and another 2,000 were outside. And as His Holiness came out after these 2-3 hours of lecture, they were all waiting. His Holiness smiled at them. There was a big cheer, and then His Holiness went to them and took photograph. They were so happy about that. So I say that His Holiness is an embodiment of this peace, compassion. And I have also many other religious, as I am speaking from my own personal perspective, there is a Hindu monk, Nitya Chaitanya Yedi, who was in the south. There is in Fernhill. He was belonging to Sri Narayana Gurukula. And in this Narayana Gurukula, he was a great master. He was the leader of a great monastic center. And there, once I was there as a young person, and then next one, please. Not next one, sorry, the previous one. Yes. So this Nitya Chaitanya Yedi was called upon by 2 Catholic priests so that, he should give a lecture on Christmas. So a message for the Christmas, since he is not healthy, he asked me to write down the message. And then he said, the most beautiful words describing the divine is they are from Quran, Rahman and Rahim, the most compassionate and merciful. So I think a Hindu monk speaking to a Catholic priest about the Muslims. So I found it so fascinating, and tears were almost coming out of my. So these great masters were telling us the necessity of being together, and somebody who is going deeper into one's own religious tradition can understand and experience the other traditions. So the enrichment of one's own tradition will be there when we are. So this is what I have came to know from these great masters. I can go on narrating, but I think there will be the time will be. So I will go to the next slide, please. And here we have yes. So the great you will see that the most of these friends are here. Yes, Kalden will be there. Lobsang will be there, and then we have Nimatashi is there. And then others. So that was a great, fascinating time for me to be with you all. And I am happy to see that today Lobsang is the director. So hearty congratulations, Lobsang becoming the director of the Sarah J translation department. And then all the three of you are going to Kalden and Lobsang and Jamba. They are all being sitting for the Geshe. Hearty congratulations and wish you all the best, so that you all continue this great process. Once I was there, you showed me the great your auditorium, and what I was told is that this is the place where people can come together and interact, so that all the various religious traditions. So your smile and your faith experiences in wanted to transmit. I am absolutely sure. See here, the next one. So here is His Holiness Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, who is also the famous for the Sudarshana Kriya. And yeah, I was also quite often being with Sri Sri. So whenever going to His Holiness Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, he will always say that, let us meditate. So going towards a master, we always in Hindi say that, yeah, when you are going to meet a master, in Hindi, what is usually you will be saying, darshan ke liye. So it is not listening, but for the darshan. And I think that is very important. We all are to be role models. People are looking towards us, and we are not spitting venomous fire about other religious traditions, but as Mahatma Gandhi has taught us, see what is the positive, the greatness, and then bridging all of them together so that we are all transformed. Next, please. So now I will go towards a little bit of this theoretical things. So the foundation of Christianity is Jesus Christ, his death, his incarnation, life, death, and resurrection. So what is he was on the cross, what he has given, told us that broken and given. And that means you have to be broken and to distribute yourself, your time, your energy, your money. So a selfless, total giving. So that is what on the cross we are experiencing. And this role model is given by each and every Catholic or Christian. But unfortunately, may not be everybody is doing the same. But you will see that, lots of priests, sisters, they are doing giving services in the school, in the hospital, in the social work places. So they are giving themselves, and since they are giving themselves, it is the continuity of this Christ's model. So Christ has called us, and Christ is inviting everyone to serve. So we don't care about whether what is the caste, what is the creed, what is the gender and the geography of any person, but we do services. We are going all around the world in service and giving our time. And a very good example is Mother Teresa. She was never converting anyone, but giving them life. So So she is a very good example. So there are many examples in nearby places you will be seeing. So I am not going to elaborate it on, but so we can go to the next one. So there was a great turning point in the Catholic Church, what is known as the Second Vatican Council. So there was a conference that was conducted in Rome. Almost 5,000 bishops were all together under the leadership of Pope, and there they have decided. Till that time, there was a negative connotation about the other religious traditions, and they said that it is Christ only in and through, the only Savior and all. But there was a great turning point, and what the Catholic Church is saying. So there is a document which came on the other religious tradition, Nostra Aetate, and it was given there. So what is the best in all other religions? What is good in every other religions? Christianity is, or the Catholic Church is appreciating and accepting. And we are all created by God, and we are all moving towards God. So if some of, I think Lobsang and we are all, the others, they were in Dharmaram Chapel. You could see that they depicted all the religious symbols are there, and at the end, at the top, there will be the dove. So dove is a kind of, Holy Spirit. So everyone is actually blessed by the Holy Spirit. All human generations, whatever be your religions, it is the divine spark. The divine spark is enabling us to move towards God. So we are beginning there, we are continuing, and we are moving towards, and the Greek letters, the beginning at the end, alpha, it is the beginning alphabet, and the omega is the last alphabet. So in the same way, the divine is the beginning and the divine is the end. So this is the way. And then, as I said earlier, the Catholic Church, every place, every parish, every diocese, and every country, that is, we have the bishops' conferences, and the universally, the Pope, we have interfaith dialogue commissions, and we organize conferences, workshops, and celebrates feasts together. So it is in a way of fostering, promoting, and you could see that, in the educational institutions, the social work, and the healthcare, we don't care who. You are a human, and we are caring for you. So we are caring for the other. So any person, the other. So we are caring, and a selfless giving is given by each and every Christian, so that we are capable of promoting a peace and harmonious universe. So I am at present in MIT, Maharashtra Institute of Technology. The founder is also a very fascinating person. And there we have a huge dome and also a huge auditorium where most of the important religious leaders are there. And every, I think 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, they have a peace prayer there in the campus. And they organize conferences and the other workshops. So I found it is so fascinating that, I am continuing this great tradition. And might be in a blessing way, God has taken me to this place. And then there is also a chair of His Holiness Dalai Lama there at Maharashtra Institute of Technology. Most of you are welcome. Maybe all of you can, when I am there, I can invite you, plan together so that you can come, and then you can interact with the students there and how you found the other religious tradition. So I congratulate the Sarah J. Monastic University, the Department of Translation, how you are capable of bringing together, and the great enlightenment, the birth and the Mahaparinirvana of Siddhartha Gautama, who became Buddha. So you are celebrating the great feast. All these three important this month. So therefore, Saka Dawa, I wish you all a great festival, and then I am happy that you have taken up this wonderful program, Religious Harmony. So I am organizing conferences basing on this. Instead of the religion, we place that cultural alliance for peace and prosperity. So it is that abbreviation will be CAP. So this CAP, we will be having a conference in Kathmandu. So we'll thought that, from the highest place, we will continue, and we can go all over the world with this peace and harmony. And you have taken up, you are also invited to be part of this cultural alliance, so that, we can all come together and promote a peaceful and harmonious globe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Matthew, for your wonderful presentation within a short period of the promotion of religious harmony from the Christian perspective within a short period. Thank you so much. And now we finished the fourth program, and now the fifth program is discussion and question and answer sessions. So anyone who have questions, you can directly raise your hand. Any questions? Okay. Today, Hudson, you can start.
It was. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. It was a great pleasure to listen to you, and I would like to say thank you for enlightening us. And my question is, there are so many conflicts happening in this world in the name of religion. And my question is, what would be your message, and what would be your advice for them?
Thank you, Lama Tarchin, for this question. I think all our religious leaders are giving almost the same answer. Like Your Holiness Dalai Lama was speaking from his own experience. So he was telling us how he was moving from Tibet to India, marching, and the suffering, the pain, and all. But still, though he lost everything, he was almost the king and everything, but he has no anger, vengeance, violence. So we might be losing everything, but we have to have that ahimsa, which the Buddhist tradition has taken up. So against violence, it is not violence, but it is compassion. So that is what His Holiness is teaching us. I think that is the same. I remember Pope Francis went to met the leaders from Sudan. They were all fighting with each other, and the people were suffering. You know what he did? With all his broken knee and all this knee problem, he genuflected. That means he was prostrating and touching their feet and asking each and everyone, we need to have peace. Why don't you all come and join? He has no need for it, but he was pleading with them so that, they should come together for their people. So that way, I think what a person who is into one's own religious tradition in a deeper way, that person will always appreciate the other religious tradition. So you cannot simply promote violence, but that person will be imbibing. That is what our great founder of our nation, Rashtrapita Mahatma Gandhi has. So he was into all. He was a Vaishnavite, but he was a believer in Christianity, in Islam, in Buddhism, in Sikhism, and from all those, whatever the positive he was imbibing. So I think this is the message. This is not what I am giving, but our great masters has given to us. So therefore, this is what I also wanted to continue. So in our own humble way, let us promote peace, compassion, oneness, togetherness.
Okay, Yasantashi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Hello, namaste.
Yeah, namaskar.
Dr. Matthew, nice to see you here. I met you a few times. Maybe you don't remember. I've been there for Interfaith, and very happy to see you here today. And also, right now I'm not in Sarah, and very happy to see my classmates and friends here. So, tashidele to everybody. My question to you is, I have been reading about Christianity, and then I translated one book on Mother Teresa from English to Tibetan. And then, there's a kind of special quality in Christianity that they can practice the generosity. They are so good to help other people. So from the Christian point of view, what makes you inspired to do these kind of activities? How other practitioners, other followers of different religions, how they can put this kind of practice, into day-to-day life?
Yeah, thank you, Lama Kalsang Tashi. I remember your face, but I think we met many different places. Yeah, I don't remember the name, but I remember all of you who we interacted. So your question is so relevant and also very piercing. So how is it possible that we could generate like Mother Teresa? So that is what I said. The basic philosophy is that the Christ who has given his life to others. So the priests, sisters, and the Christians, they try to emulate that great selflessness. And then I think it is the same with all the religious traditions. Even in your own, you could see that Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, renounced the richness and he went in search of meaning. And he found that, there is suffering, and the cause of the suffering is the desire, and you can eliminate. So what he found, he was sharing with these 5 monks. So that was the first preaching, isn't it? So the same way, I think that, the goodness we have found, we will be capable of distributing, giving to others. So as a monk, I don't know what are the laws there, but among yourself and also to the communities outside, you can have small services. And as an institution also you can. I remember that I had sometimes, discussions with Sonam, not the Sonam here, but somebody you will be knowing who is also into social service and all. He wanted to do lots of commitment. So the suffering can be eliminated by our collective work. So why don't we take such initiatives? You have the hospital there. So the same way, some social services you could organize, and that way, we are capable of alleviating or diminishing the suffering of the others. Like the concept of Bodhisattva. You are studying almost 1 year about Bodhisattva Charyavadara of the great monk writer Shantideva. What he was telling, transforming yourself. Once you transform yourself, or to attain some, why don't we teach to others? So that way of selfless giving is will be capable of promoting what this Mother Teresa and the others. We are all doing such kind of smaller, but Mother Teresa courageously did. But each and everyone can give in their own smaller ways. So your question is really challenging, and then I think you can also find in your own ways smaller. So ingeniously you will be able to develop, since you have that thirst. Thank you, Lama Kalsang.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. See you soon. Thank you.
Yes, see you.
Any questions? Okay.
One question.
Yes, please.
First of all, it's a great pleasure to meet Professor Dr. Matthew through the Zoom meeting. And I think this is our first meeting. Before this, I never met you. But it's a very great pleasure to see you, as well as to listen your wonderful speech about the religious harmony, especially which has been doing from the Christian side for the religious harmony for the world. And my question is that in Christianity, I heard that there is a view that you say when a person or anyone dies, whether he will go to either go to hell or to heaven. And my question is that in Christianity, is there life after life or life before life, this life?
Thank you. I think you are already a Geshela.
Yes.
Yes. So, thank you for this pertinent question. In Christianity, we believe not in rebirth, but only one birth, and then after that, eternal life. So that is the way we are experiencing. So a person will be going to hell or to heaven. So what is this hell and heaven? Is it a specific place or something else? So these are all leading to different ways of interpretation. So one way, what I would interpret is that, see, you have eternal happiness with Jesus Christ. So when you are after, he's the one who died but resurrected, and he is eternal. So being with Christ, you will be having that happiness, and that is the heaven. And if a person need to be with him, need to be away from evil, cleansed from the evil, that person after death, depending upon the goodness he had contributed in his life, will propel him towards being with the resurrected Christ. So that is the heaven. But someone who was for himself and or herself and away from all kinds of immersed in pleasures and evil, that person will be away from Christ. So that will be a kind of eternal condemnation, or away from Christ. That will be a kind of hell. It is not what quite often people were described as, there will be the Satan with long tail and horns, and it's a way of a pejorative way of describing. But I would say that, it is with the Christ as the sender. Being with him, it is happiness. Being away from is a kind of hell. So that is the way Christianity is describing afterlife. And this afterlife, we are not reincarnating, but we will be with Christ eternally. So we say that, you know, after somebody dies, may the Lord give him eternal glory, eternal peace. That means be with him always. So that is the way we are. So we are not worried about what is the next, whether we will become a hungry ghost or roaming around, or, you know, we get worm, or, you know, so we are not worried about that. So I think Lama Geshela Sonam.
Thank you, sir, for your response.
Any other questions? I hardly see everybody, so if you want any question, you can just raise your questions. Anybody?
Any questions or suggestion? So I mean that if Gensana on the Gishila, if you have also add some suggestions for creating the religious harmony in the very digital society, very digital world. So then it is almost open. It's an open platform for everyone.
Not special ideas.
Any questions? I have a question. If anybody don't have any questions, may I ask one question? So, Professor Matthew, since you already written the
who is this Jamba? Who is the person asking question?
Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. So since you have composed the philosophy of mechanics in your book.
Yes.
Yeah, study about science. And so I'm wondering, so how Christianity scope with collaborate with science to promote and to serve the society in any regarding to philosophy of mechanics or any science subject.
I didn't clearly get you, Kalan, that in Christianity the science,
I mean,
are related or
experience. You have studied about science and both religions.
Yeah, science and religion.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh,
The question is.
So you already study about science and also you compose the philosophy of mechanics. So I'm wondering that how about science and Christianity, the collaboration and whether they have a community and similarity and these differences. I want your own experience. Some of them.
It's a very what I can say is that, you know, Christianity promoted science. First of all, I could see that, you know, there are the philosophical way of understanding that there is matter and the human intelligence can penetrate, and human intelligence can find regularities in nature. So that is the way, a philosophical foundation that we can know. So that was the basis, and on that we could see that the 17th century, 18th century, we have all these great masters like Copernicus. He was the beginner, and Galileo. So these two of them brought together the universe, you know, from a geocentric, geostatic to a heliocentric. And Galileo is the one who experimented with mathematics connected. And he was the one almost the first and second law of Newton. Newton himself in his Principia Mathematica has said that it was Galileo actually who has discovered through his experiments and all. And then we have Newton and Kepler and many others. So they were all people who were praying. And then there were also people who found that, the majesty and the glory of God revealed in and through the creation. So that for science, technology is a kind of worshipping God. It is a tool in order to worship God. So though in the present stage, there are people like Hawking, Dawkins, and they're all saying that, we only need science. Science can explain everything. But we understood that, we the humans, though we had euphoria about our own science and technology, unfortunately, an invisible virus put us all together in confinement. Borders were closed and all, so the science and technology couldn't do anything. But now we say that, so that humility and that there is something beyond. There are powers beyond us, and our own reason, our own science and technology cannot control everything. So I think this is what I learned from the great masters. These great teaching us that we know only very little. We have only, and some poets already spoken about that. If you are looking at the immensity of the universe, if I say that the universe, see in our sun, we have the planetary system, sun centered system, solar system, but there are 500 billion stars in our Milky Way. And near to us, there is Andromeda. 20 such galaxies are there. And all of them together as a local group. Such many local groups together is known as a galactic cluster. Such billions of galactic clusters are in this universe. So we could see that, we are a tiny specks in this immensity of the universe. We are not going to govern everything. Even the simple things like this coronavirus, we are unable to control. So our science technology will open us towards this greater glory of the divine. This is what I have learned from these great masters and my own studies. Whether you are going deeper into a cell or into an atom, to a galaxy, you will find God or the divine.
Thank you so much. So we don't have much time, and we conclude the question and answer sessions. And so now the last our thank you sessions, speech by Venerable Chamba Doje.
Very good evening, everybody. It is indeed my pure pleasure and the honor to words of thanks to today's seminar of 1st June of 2022, the first day of Visakha. The first and foremost, I would like to sincere thanks to Professor Dr. Matthew Chandrakuni, CMI, the distinguished professor and advisor, Maharashtra Institute of Technology, Center for Advanced Science and Technology, Pune, for your wonderful presence and inspire audience with your remarkable speech on Christianity and promotion religion's harmony, and just answer all the questions from the directly from the committee. And the secondly, it's my duty to be complete if I don't thank the Venerable Kandin Jalsa for being your wonderful moderator today's seminar. And third, how can I forget to thanks to the simultaneous translator Venerable Tewon and the Venerable Chamdola for translating in Tibetan language, those who are interested in listening in Tibetan language. The last, but definitely not least, I would like to sincere thanks to the director of the Saraji Translating Department, the Saraji Monastery, the Venerable Lobsang Dojila to organize such a meaningful seminar, and also thanks to live streamer, the Venerable Lobsang Dojila and the coexistence Venerable Nimalotula. Especially thanks to wonderful audience to be so passionate and active throughout in Zoom meeting as well as for Facebook Live joining us today, and make this evening highly educative and memorable one. Thank you all and have a pleasant evening you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this wonderful occasion and the great words of introduction, and also thanks and the moderation by the Venerables, Lobsang, Kalden, Jampa, and Geshela Sonam, and all the other listeners. And I am grateful to all of you, and I wish you all Tashi Delak and a great feast of Saka Dawa. So this is the first day, and the whole month will be such a very venerable and the great feast days of the birth, the enlightenment, and the Mahaparinirvana of Buddha. And I am grateful to you for inviting me to on this religious harmony to speak on, and I am inviting all of you so that we can be part of this cultural alliance for peace and prosperity. So Saraje University, Saraje Monastic University can, and then the Department of Language Translation could be part of it, and we can all work together. So thank you. Wish you all a great good night. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Matthew, we have a small gift for you. And I will invite Dr. Venerable Lobsang Doji to offering one scrap and incense. We will post you later, okay? Lobsang Doji. Yeah.
Yes, Father. So we would like to offer you these on behalf of the Saraja Transmission Department as a token of our heartfelt gratitude. So we would like to post you this. We shall post you this. So finally, so then it is our really great pleasure, and we are very honored to listen to the wonderful speech, and we hope we looking forward to listen to you more and more in future. And of course, since we all are on the one side, we all are the religious person, so then we have the extra responsibility. We are not just the human being, we are also a very religious person who try to put the spiritual values into the action in daily life. So then I think that we all have the responsibility on us. If the religious persons are not happy, and if the religious persons do not take the much responsibility to be in harmony with the nature, with the human brothers and sisters, then I think there is no way to blame on the others. So I think we all should be first. We all should be the friendly and share the harmonious society, and share all our happiness and the suffering together. So then we can really we can demonstrate a very exemplary the sample to the rest of the world. So in the future, as how the most of us young monks, so then we shall try our best to follow your steps and to be more in touch with you, to promote the religious harmony, for world peace, for a better humanity, for a better place for the generations to come and for the present generations. So this is my final prayers and the dedication. So, and I would like to dedicate all the virtues and merits we have accumulated today for the betterment of the humanity, for the world peace, and for the lasting happiness of all sentient beings, including the insects, birds, and fish. So we wish them all have a lasting peace and happiness. May all your dreams come true. May the world and all beings be happy and peaceful. Thank you all the Professor Matthew Chandrakunal and all the Gishila and the moderator and all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for these wonderful words of wisdom from Venerable Lobsang Dorji. So we will continue to work together. And as you said, for the betterment of humanity, let all our virtues be integrated and transmitted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.